Cheers to
Hi.
you.
Cheers.
Cheers, everyone. Welcome to
Creative Happy Hour.
Yay! We've done a lot of episodes now. And every time we keep thinking of something super fun and cool to do, but we've had a big question about why the fuck are we not going viral yet?
Yeah, why are we not going viral?
Why are we not going viral? Hello. So we looked into it. We made the penicillin.
The penicillin because we need something medicinal to talk about this, something to combat this particular illness that we have, this antiviral. They don't have antiviral drinks.
They do not have antiviral, so we had to go with an antibacterial, the penicillin. But so we're going to talk about the penicillin, the history of the penicillin, what actual penicillin is, what the history of the idea of virality and going viral is. And then we're going to talk about why, in the whole media sense, going viral can be both a bad thing, especially for creatives, and a good thing. Because there are lots of ways to look at it. And then we're going to talk about why podcasts in general don't go viral. And things, though, that are very promising in that genre, and how things can actually increase and how you can maximize the chances of your message going viral as a creative.
And podcasts are very, very... They're very popular right now.
Extremely so.
They're getting more and more popular, and so that's interesting
like
to me. So this opportunity to talk about virality and popularity it's an interesting topic.
100 million people downloading podcasts every month.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Is 100 million people downloading podcasts. However,
we've already, guess what? We've had about 75,000 downloads on YouTube, guys.
Come on,
let's keep subscribing. Subscribe. Click the little bell because that's very important to us. You'll find out all the interesting things happening.
It looks like our glass, a little bell, a little glass.
Ding,
Consider
ding,
it a little
ding.
cocktail glass.
Exactly. And then you'll be so happy. And then you need to go to YouTube and Spotify so that you can listen in your car. And we're going to tell you why listening is actually really good too. Except since we forget all the dates all the time and we put images in our video podcast, you have to do both.
Yeah, I think I told you, I actually listen to our podcast every time it comes out, every week, because listening, you know, you can't get distracted about my crazy antics or my bad hair or my really good lipstick. Or
I know, lipstick's amazing.
Yeah, so it's the content, and that's how I am able to get really engaged with the content.
Exactly. So let's start right now.
So let's talk about the history of penicillin. It does not have a very deep, exotic history.
No, we have some. I'm going to put my lemon in here. Am I allowed? Unlike the Goslings,
I already did
Dark and Stormy, we're allowed to put the lemon in it.
Listen to that episode, you'll learn that.
Should we taste it?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, let's taste the penicillin. Let's go.
Oh, wow.
Holy shit, that's
it does not taste like that pink bubblegum penicillin that you would get when you were a kid and had strep throat. It does not taste like that.
This is ridiculously strong.
Yeah. This
will kill anything.
Yeah.
This is kind of what I thought, for some reason I thought it would be sweeter.
Yeah.
Considering the sheer amount of honey I put into the syrup. So let's talk about the ingredients.
Yes.
So you got us some Scotch whiskey.
Yeah.
And then there's a splash of a very specific Scotch whiskey, which we forgot the name of. Whatever. We'll put it up. See, this is why you watch the video.
It's about the concept, not necessarily the details.
And honestly, when it comes to the penicillin, seriously, this thing tastes so strong. You can
use any Scotch whiskey you have on hand.
You don't need to get all fancy or bougie on anybody. You can just use your regular.
Yeah, because you're going to be drowning out all of those flavors anyway.
Yes, because you're going to be making 2 ounces of Scotch whiskey.
Yes.
And then you're going to be putting in
a ginger
medley. Yeah. So it's a ginger honey syrup.
Yes, that's
what
it is.
The way you make this, because that's what I did, because I'm dedicated to my craft, is I put, but it's kind of crazy. I put like a cup, basically a cup of ginger, like cut up into pieces.
Oh my God, it's just extreme.
A cup of ginger, and then I just put a cup of honey. Oh. And I thought that wasn't very economical. I was like, what the fuck? Because
honey is not cheap.
It's like farmer's market, like Marin County honey.
Yeah.
So no allergies for us. But and then you add a little bit of water to your saucepan.
Oh shit.
And you basically just boil it down a little bit, and then you cover it and you let it sit for as long as you can, and then you basically
liquor it up.
And then you liquor it up. And so you add that. So we got this.
And then pure lemon.
Yeah, we had about an ounce of that, and then we had a little bit of lemon juice. Yes. But it doesn't.
Yeah, so the honey doesn't translate. It does not translate.
Does not translate.
Yeah.
It feels
lost in translation.
It feels like we could have more honey, and I don't really taste much of the ginger at all in this. It's
it's lemon.
Is lemon for
and
sure.
And the whiskey.
And whiskey. That's what we're tasting, and we're sticking to that assessment. It does taste like it could kill stuff.
Yeah, it's definitely medicinal.
So what's the history? I mean, it actually medicinal?
Well, not necessarily. I mean, I'm not getting that history. Basically, this guy, Sam Ross, I believe he's originally from Australia, but he created this cocktail in a bar in New York, because that's where all cocktails are born, in a bar in New York.
Seriously, Harry's cocktails. I can't believe it
created by a New York bartender.
Yeah.
And so he wanted to create something warm, soothing flavors, honey, lemon, fresh ginger.
It is a little soothing.
And it's fortified, as they say, with a strong dose.
Well, didn't he make it with Navy grade? No, it wasn't right. It was super strong whiskey. Yeah. We dropped our notes. Now we're winging it.
I know, we were joking because I'm old fashioned. Yeah. So that's a drink that we'll have in the future, the old fashioned, but not tonight.
Not tonight. We're going to be doing the old fashioned with writer's block. Is going to be our theme.
So she uses the
iPad,
and I use this stupid and shit is still falling out of it because I just stuck. I mean, there's probably bills in here that aren't paid because I'm like, I'm getting creative happy hour and I'm not going to pay my bills.
Yeah.
So there's all kinds of shit, but I'm on the right page.
Whereas I'm organized with my iPad.
She's technologically savvy. Yeah. So
it's not just normal. So and that's why I think that we have those two sides.
We do.
Of the old-fashioned, creative, slow movement, and the pop culture biatch, technologically savvy-ish
touchscreen shit.
Yeah. And so I think we're well situated to have this a little bit of a debate about.
Well, we bring a well-roundedness.
I think we do.
To the arena.
That's what we do. Yeah,
that's what we do.
We round out the arena. That's what we do. So let's talk about the history.
So then we want to talk about the history of penicillin, and I actually really like. So apparently there was some history that perhaps the Egyptians were onto this.
I think the Egyptians figured everything out. Like, I think they probably had iPads.
And then they offed themselves. They probably already had
tablets.
Yeah.
Well, they literally had tablets.
Okay. Touche. That is unreal. Yeah, they had tablets.
They were wireless.
Hieroglyphic tablets.
They were wireless,
yeah,
too.
They were wireless. Oh, Jesus. Did I have to bring the Egyptians up?
I know.
We have to do a whole episode on Egyptian so we can just crack jokes about Egyptians.
We should. I know.
The entire
You'd
time.
have to write your shit on papyrus.
Yeah. So, anyway, they basically were applying poultices of moldy bread to wounds. So they must have had some experience with mold.
And crusty bread.
And healing wounds. I mean... So anyway,
delightful.
This scientist, what was his name? I should know. Alexander Fleming? Yes. He
Not related to Ian Fleming of James Bond fame, I hope.
No.
Right.
This guy was a bacteriologist in London, in England,
good place.
At St. Mary's Hospital. Is that
good
right?
Place. Yeah, probably.
Yeah, St. Mary's Hospital in London. And he was kind of a slob. He was,
I love it.
He worked in a lab and he wasn't very fastidious.
He left his sandwich out.
Yeah, he left his sandwich out, and it ended up contaminating this this culture
of Petri dish of some kind of staphylococcus
bacteria, and I guess it started to actually
a staph infection on bread.
Yeah, and so anyway, so therefore penicillin was born. He found out that this mold.
What I'm wondering is why
I don't know exactly
he
how
actually
this shit
even decided to play with the mold once he had the mold.
It didn't really say. I mean, I'm sure if I went deeper into Wikipedia, I think it would have talked about how he made some kind of observation.
Speaking of Wikipedia, I mean, you could have, but then we would be My Favorite Murder because that's what they do. They basically Wikipedia that shit. And they're like, oh, here's our podcast.
Yeah.
So then this guy murdered this person in 1852. They get their dates right all the freaking time because they're reading from Wikipedia and then they go viral. Really?
Dates really? Do not. No. I mean, everybody knows that we do not teach school with dates anymore.
No.
That is stupid. Dates do nothing for us. It all blurs together anyway.
Of course
especially when you're drinking.
You just need a context.
You need a context. And you need some kind of story. You need to tell a story. A narrative. You need something that draws people in with your narrative.
And drinks.
I mean, if you have a drink and a good story, I don't know what else you need.
This is a trigger.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a trigger.
I'm loving it. And actually, we're joking about this, but part of this is all about the equation that it takes to have something go viral. So if you guys want to know how to make your own creative productions go viral, stick with us because you'll go far. Yeah. So, okay.
I mean, we can't actually accomplish it, but we hope to help you accomplish it.
Well, isn't that like everybody out there though these days? So like, I'll teach you how to do this. Not done it myself, but do as I say, not as I do. Yeah. Awesomely cool.
It's kind of like parenting, actually.
Totally.
Don't ever drink, Johnny. Yeah, and you're just like, good. Johnny, I said don't drink. It's bad for you.
One of my friends was telling me a story like that the other day, and I was like,
you're just like,
why is your kid doing that?
Yeah, gee, I wonder what they saw happening in your household.
Weird. Who knew?
Oh my god.
Okay, so back to bacteria, because that's what we're really into today, clearly.
Yeah.
So the penicillin was invented. I think it was a huge change because people were kind of...
I actually do have the date. Fucking
you have the
1928.
Woo!
That was the first the first true antibiotic.
Wow.
Penicillin was created in 1928.
That seems incredibly late. So people are just kind of dropping like flies.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like the Egyptians were doing these moldy bread poultices. Yes. You know,
after that, though, there was like a whole gap where people were just dropping dead.
Between Egypt and 1928, what the fuck was going on, people?
Shit seems to
if anybody knows what was going on between Egypt in 1928, can you please
this has nothing to do
with
it.
Do a podcast about it?
Right?
Because
I know. And
this podcast is about what happened between Egypt in 1928.
But we're kind of stupid, too, because this shows how little we know about science. Because I guess that... technically, penicillin couldn't do anything against a viral infection.
Right. So we're doing a play on words here.
We're trying to be cute, but clearly.
Okay, but that's okay. But I will stop you there because bacterial infections can go viral per se. They can spread infectiously.
Yes, they can.
They can become infectious and they can spread in the same sense that we mean by viral.
Right. Because okay, so let's define viral, shall we?
Sure. Great idea.
Let's define viral. I think
in the context that we're talking about in the modern world.
Well, yeah, viral becomes viral.
I have an itchy nose. Sorry. Oh God.
Maybe it's a viral infection. Quick. Moldy bread.
Yeah.
Viral is when you get a certain more attention than your actual platform.
Oh,
so that's the actual meaning of viral. So if we have 1,200 followers, which
come on, people, come on! You know you want to do it. Come on.
If we have that many, and then we get which happens like technically we go viral constantly. Because if you get more views, isn't that awesome?
Yeah.
If you get more views than you have followers, i.e. fans, that means that more people are sharing your content, and it means more people are consuming it, people who don't actually know you. So that's kind of awesome. And honestly, like a lot of our followers actually don't even know us. They've just kind of started to consume our content because they like it. So but that's viral. And I think in a body, like when the disease tips past a certain point,
it starts replicating. It starts, so a virus will start injecting. Oh, this is really interesting because I actually do know. So if you get a virus, it will start injecting its DNA into your cells, and then your cells were replicated. Then you have
no chance.
And then it keeps injecting its DNA.
Right, and that's that whole infection thing. And I think that when something goes viral, even in social media or in a movement or in an artistic production, it starts to infect the thinking and the behavior of all of the other people who've consumed it without their even knowing, really.
Yeah,
and that's kind of also how advertising works and things like that. So I think that's fascinating.
Yeah.
But there's a really sick theory that of all people, Dan Brown wrote a story about it. When
didn't he do Angels and Demons?
He did.
And he did
yes.
What's the one that we all know?
Oh my God, Angels and Demons.
Da Vinci Code, yeah.
Da Vinci Code.
That thing went viral.
Da Vinci Code totally went viral. As did fucking 50 Shades of Grey, which I think is the dumbest book ever.
I used to have a stalker named Ray, and I would call him 50 Shades of Ray. Yeah.
I mean, again, so this shows you how some things have no reason for being viral.
Well, the only reason
other than they touch people somehow.
Yeah, but I think so. I had a theory about the Dan Brown because I read Da Vinci Code.
I have theories about it too. Okay. So let's do that. Let's talk about Dan Brown and why. And then we'll circle back to the book he wrote about that whole disease theory. But okay, so what, in your opinion, makes Dan Brown so viral?
The reason I think that book went so viral is because he had the utmost command of a period. It was one of the first books that I read.
He did plagiarize completely. He took all of his information from a book called Holy Blood, Holy Grail.
Okay, so that's interesting because the thing that I thought was so, like, you couldn't stop reading because it was like reading a telegraph. Remember, they would say, going to Austria, stop. Getting on the bus, stop. Getting ice cream, stop.
So I translate
and it had that. It had that element. Forward. So you were just like, okay, what's next? What's that? And you couldn't stop reading it compulsively.
I think that he is actually a pretty good storyteller. I think that he took these very universal elements that fascinate people. He took the whole idea of a cult.
And the heist.
And yeah, exactly. The story arc was perfectly constructed to where, you know, everything happened exactly where it was supposed to. It was almost mathematical. Yeah. And his writing style, he keeps that tension and the story moving forward in such a way that, it was very consumable. And also I think that people, because of the subject matter, they felt that they were smart for understanding it and reading it. They wanted to show other people. There was that social element where they're like, oh my God, I enjoyed this quasi-historical thing, when in fact he was really giving it a very easily digestible form. Yeah. But it validates the actual reader, so people loved it because of that. And then it was kind of this common thing because religion is one of those themes that unites so many people. It's at least familiar to everybody. Yeah. So, and it was just shocking enough. Not really, very vanilla, but just shocking enough. And with this,
you didn't have to work very hard to get what the story was.
No,
I mean it was it was like a cartoon version of of a deeper subject.
Absolutely, and his character, I think, is Robert Langdon.
It was like Scratch and Sniff.
Yeah, I think Robert Langdon, is that the name of the character?
I don't remember.
I'm probably fucking wrong, and I'll edit it out. But anyway, I think that's his name. The professor character has enough knowledge that he makes everybody feel like they're smart, just
like they're gonna get an A in the class.
Totally. Yeah. Totally. Yeah. And that's a super validating thing. People like to feel that way. So it's feeding people what they want.
It's a warm fuzzy.
It's a warm fuzzy, just like this drink. It gives you that warming fuzzy feeling, minus the fuzzy bacteria and penicillin content. So the book that he wrote was Inferno.
Oh, okay. I didn't read Inferno. Did I?
Not as many people did. So that's the other thing with viral, is that you know, somebody who created something viral, that doesn't guarantee that the next one's going to go viral. Inferno was still a bestseller, obviously, but it didn't...
What was it about?
Okay, well, this is...
I feel like, did I read it, or did I inquire about it?
So it's basically about the theory that it's a guy... So the villain believes that overpopulation is the bane of men's creativity and existence and humanity and everything else. It is terrible. He argued that the plague... the Black Plague was the reason, you know, killing off about 50% of Europe was the reason behind the Renaissance.
Oh, that's actually a fascinating topic.
It's a fascinating topic, but it's really interesting because if you talk to, it really tears people apart. If you talk to some people about it, they're like, yeah, that makes sense. You know, there's that whole thing of fighting for all of the resources and the space and, you know, everything else. And also when you talk about virality, if you have too many people and you have overpopulation, well, you're going to have, between global
warming. Well, you basically cut the competition is what you do.
You're cutting the competition, but you're cutting disease literally because you have... You know,
the people that survived it and the people that didn't.
Exactly. And but then also you have the planet's not, you know, overtaxed as much. So people are not going to be polluting as much, and you're not going to be competing for the same food, blah, blah, blah. So all of that, so they argue that created the Renaissance. And so this character is trying to create this big inferno, you know, to kill off people so that it can be
Jesus,
the same. The antagonist was well written because he has this conviction that's quite interesting and powerful. And,
well, I mean, it kind of sounds like, to me, almost like, you know, almost like how Hitler was like, oh, we need to do this. And
that is exactly right.
The same
and look how his ideas went viral. He was crazy.
Yeah,
and
as the days long.
And his ideas were horrible.
Yeah.
However, they had their own internal logic for him.
Right.
And he was so compelling.
They resonated with people because otherwise people would not have gotten on board with it if they didn't resonate.
He told a story. And he had this message.
Yeah, the story was, I mean, it was basically like, these people are keeping you from having access to your birthright.
Yes.
And this is what we have to do.
Something. Exactly. Yeah. So, and again, this is kind of a hint. We're showing kind of that common thread of what makes messages go viral.
And it is more of an emotional thing. It doesn't
very much so.
Because when you talk to people about it, and in fact, there's a lot of people that denied that the Holocaust even happened. You know, which is so
kind of crazy,
fucking scary to me. But you could see how if you think about those things intellectually are like, it doesn't make any sense, right?
Right.
But the fact that he was able to tell these stories and affect people emotionally and have these narratives resonate with them and to get them to do what they did, it shows you the power behind, you know, most of the time we do things for emotional reasons.
Totally.
Not because we thought it out.
No, but also because there's a kind of a social reason as well. We were saying everybody's reading 50 Shades of Grey. It's a dumb as dog shit book. But since your sister read it and your aunt read it and your book read it,
you want to be part of that.
Part of it. And when you're at a Hitler rally, you know, everybody's Heil Hitler, and everybody was like, I can't be the one guy who's like, where am I?
Yeah.
You know, and it's like when somebody's sharing the stupid cat with a mustache video with you, it's just so easy to press share, and everybody's like, oh, haha, around. You feel like you're part of something. If you haven't seen it, you're like,
well, it's probably the same that people, like, they're really into a sports team, and they all wear the same clothes. Oh, and have you ever gone to a Giants game, and you didn't wear orange?
I find it kind of frightening.
And I don't have any orange, and I feel like a complete asshole, because I show up, and I'm the one in, like, you know, a turquoise necklace and a pink dress or some bullshit. And everybody's like,
no, that's the power.
And it's not that I don't like the Giants or I don't like baseball. It's just, it's not my identity.
Right.
I don't identify.
But it'd be so easy if people kept shooting that message at you. I mean, look how you already feel kind of bad about it. Like it could
I feel like an asshole, you know?
Right. It could very easily transfer to that. So we were talking about how people kind of do things without thinking. And there's a recent case, a makeup artist. I think I was trying to tell you about this.
Yeah, James Charles.
I
don't mean to like bring up a bad topic.
I know. Well, I mean, it's
speaking of going viral and then antiviral.
Absolutely. And I was like,
to make that guy a drink.
I know. At first I was saying, oh, we'll tag James Charles on this video and that'll get attention. There's so many videos about James Charles now.
Yeah.
Poor kid. Honestly, 19-year-old kid. Probably did some stupid things, but then there's a video about him kind of outing him. But this happens to everybody who puts themselves out there. It's very frightening. And this is where we're going to start entering into
and this is what I told my daughter. I was like, you know, the thing about it is...
because your daughter was one of the...
because she was following him, and that's how I knew about him. And then she was like... oh, well, Shawn Mendes unfollowed him and blah, blah, blah unfollowed him and blah, blah, blah unfollowed him. And so I unfollowed him on your phone because she doesn't even have Instagram. So I'm like, oh, so apparently I unfollowed him.
Right.
But, you know, the thing that I was telling her, I was like, you know, it's just so odd because now you do things and it's all public.
Yes.
You can't do anything. You know, you can't just screw up with your friends and be like, oh, dude, I screwed up. I'm so sorry.
No.
It's like you do it publicly and then you get publicly shamed.
Right. And that's where we can start talking about creatives and how when you're a creative, sometimes you're a little bit more private.
And being a creative is like to express yourself creatively is you're already putting yourself out there.
It's very hard to do.
It is a form of vulnerability to begin with.
Very much
But then to do it...
and to know that you can be harmed so much more to such a huge degree. I mean, I think for creatives, there's an opportunity in this whole new atmosphere of virality and everything else to say, you know, there was, I'm going to talk about the case of, there's a grad, I don't know if it was a grad student or a college student, Bianca Giaever. We're going to put it up there and you guys can, you know, pronounce it yourselves. It's just like, speaking of things going viral, Kanye and Kim had their kid and his name's Psalm. And everybody's like, how do you pronounce it?
Is it like, Psalm?
Yeah.
Psalm.
Wow. And I was like, oh my God, because my company is called Spalmorum and it's like a misspelling of Psalmorum. And I was like, oh, it's pronounced Spalmorum. But, you know, that's not going to go viral because everybody is talking about this poor kid's name. But
bless his heart.
This woman, Bianca Giaever, she had a senior project basically in her. She's always been obsessed with radio. And she's worked in radio forever and she's always loved it. She loved the way the message was. She loved the way, and there's a lot of things to love about audio.
Oh, I love radio too. I've always been a lover of radio.
And I think that's why podcasts are so popular, even though people say they don't go viral, but I think that they do have another quality. It's like reading where you can see the images in your mind instead of being fed the images.
Well, and they also say when someone reads aloud to you, there's something about the sound of their voice, the cadence of their voice, and how it falls on the ear, and how you absorb that sound resonance on your eardrum than if you read it to yourself. So it's a different, it's more of a bonding experience.
Yes.
I
agree with that.
And humans evolved to have conversations.
Exactly.
To be in the circle and tell stories. The storytelling. It's very ancient.
And that's why when people are just posting stupid videos where nothing really happens, some of them do go viral, and that's inexplicable, but really the things that go viral for a reason are the ones that do tell that story, that touch people's emotions in some way. And then the science says that there's certain emotions that are more, bound to impact you in terms of virality. Yeah. But anyway, so this woman, Bianca, she had been really into radio, and she was going to do a radio project for her final project. And it was a conversation with a 6-year-old kid. And it was really, really cute. He was just telling a little story. It was a nice conversation. It was very touching. But she decided kind of the last minute that she was going to actually do video components to this.
Oh, okay.
So she had some of her friends. It was kind of a very amateur-ish, and you've got to see it. We'll post a link to it. And this thing actually ended up going completely viral. I mean, it was insane. Interesting. It was nothing that she ever expected. And that was the video component of it. It was just so much more touching for people to see it and more shareable. And that's the thing for why people say that podcasts will never go viral or radio shows never go viral, because it's the nature of how you consume them, first of all.
Right.
You're doing the dishes or you're driving your car. You're not going to be, while you're doing that, you can't
Well, and I think that's why TED Talks do kind of go viral, because they are very allotted a certain specific amount of time.
They're shorter, so and they have format.
So they have to, they pick the topic, whatever it is.
But I think the TED Talks, though, I think they have a name brand to them.
Yeah.
The minute you say TED anything, it's, it's kind of a machine. It's a product that people are expecting. Well, I don't know. And it'd be interesting. And had we done more research, we would have known. We could have looked at the TED Talks.
Well, I didn't think of it until now, because I'm thinking of, there's been TED Talks that have introduced me to, Brene Brown. I was introduced to Brene Brown through a TED Talk. And then I was, completely obsessed with her, and I started reading all of her books.
Yes.
And then, there's been other people that I'm trying to think. One of our pod crushes, Simon Sinek.
Oh, yeah.
I saw him on a TED Talk.
Right.
And then became obsessed.
Yeah.
And so, and it was really this really concentrated
and that's kind of
moment in time.
Yeah, and that's kind of an interesting viral thing where you get infected by that person's ideas, and then you start consuming their other stuff.
Yeah, you start consuming their other stuff, and then you start telling your friends about it.
Yes, absolutely.
And you're like, oh, that's like when so-and-so says this about that, and
exactly.
And, oh, you should read their book. And
completely.
Yeah.
And that's I think that these days we have that multimedia virality where somebody will say, I saw the TED Talk. Oh, I saw the YouTube thing, and then, oh, well, I'm on their Instagram,
right.
and I read their book. And so you have so many different ways to consume the message, which is very interesting. So I kind of feel and this is the thing where people, a lot of creatives are like, okay, I have an opportunity like never before to make my art or my message or my book or my product, my music. Music is a big one, like Justin Bieber, who had blown up because he was on YouTube for a hot second. But people have this idea in their mind that this is going to happen.
Right.
And there's this expectation. And so then if it doesn't, you have the chance at the exposure, and then it doesn't happen, and does that completely, make you depressed? There's a whole theory saying that you don't need the virality to be successful.
Well, and that's what when you were saying that, I was kind of thinking about how, if you just think about viruses, you think about viruses that just the plague, how it just wiped out people, or Ebola, or something that's just it just steamrolls. And usually when something is new, a new virus will be very dangerous.
Strong at the beginning.
It's very strong in the beginning.
And then it starts to peter out.
But then you have things like rhinoviruses, which are cold.
Yes.
That's a cold virus. And they mutate. They mutate every year, or the flu virus, the influenza. It still kills people, but it mutates every year, and you get a new virus, and you have a strong effect, but it's not necessarily as deadly.
Or it'll touch a different segment of the population.
A different segment, a different aspect. It will, reveal itself in a different way.
Absolutely.
And I think, but those are viruses that have longevity. And I think that's what we're talking about is can you continue to,
harness that attention.
Yeah, and evolve so that you still get, when you get sick with the flu, it takes your ass down.
That's true.
Right?
Yeah, that's true. But I think that almost when you have that instant popularity of the virality that you almost didn't really plan for, I think that can take you down creatively. You can be like, how am I going to replicate this? And I think that that's very damaging, because I see a lot of people on YouTube, for example, who keep posting the same type of video because they're like, I had success with this video. Let me try to replicate that. And that's the death of creativity, because you're going to stop exploring more. You're going to say, oh, let me go in this vein because this is working right now.
Right.
And I think a lot of artists who got stuck in a specific genre.
Yes.
You know, like you look at Andy Warhol, who just, I think, was just beating a dead horse.
Right.
To me, he was kind of like one of the first viral artists. It was ubiquitous. It's like when the minute you have your shit on a t-shirt or a mug or on a poster, like you're viral. You know?
Yeah, and it's this recognizable thing. But it's funny, we talk about the Beatles and we talk about, and there's different, I was a big Ani DeFranco fan and, she was always about woman power and, independent woman and, had her own music production company and everything. And then, once she started writing in a different way and producing music in a different way, people were like, what happened to you? You're becoming soft, you're wearing lipstick, what the hell?
Right.
You have I think
that you feel that you can't change, you can't evolve, you feel like you're stuck in that thing.
And that is, I agree, the death of, and why wouldn't you as an artist, keep trying to grow and explore different creative avenues.
That's the whole thing of what artists do.
Yeah.
Is that they're always pushing the envelope.
And when they do that, they challenge us to view something in a different perspective. And that's really the whole point of art.
Yes. But then you also have some more social media people who try to push it all the time. And that's these people who are so fucked up, who keep doing, they'll be posting the guy who went into the woods in Japan where they had the suicides and that he actually filmed a dead body, or these idiots who are like falling off of buildings because they're trying to do these extreme posts to go viral. They're like the artists who keep pushing things to be more and more shocking to try to get that audience. And I think that's also, of course, obviously super destructive and stupid. Yeah. But that's just as harmful. So I just find it really interesting.
Well, and one of the things that, with this whole situation with James Charles is, that we were talking about is that people will, he had, 16 million.
16 million.
Yeah, 16 million.
And he dropped about 3 or 4 million.
Yeah. So, he had gone viral as this makeup artist.
Yes.
And he had all these followers. And then, one of the reasons that he had so many followers, I'm not saying he wasn't a great makeup artist, was because people were wanting to ride that wave of his success. And then all of a sudden they recognize, oh, he's having a success downfall, so we're going to pull away. Yeah. And, when are people, viewing something and consuming something and following something when it's authentic? And I guess that's what, a lot of this is so interesting to me. Because
I think that James Charles became like kind of a caricature of himself. Yeah. And I think that's where he stopped being authentic. But then again, so did all the other people. The people who made the videos that shot him down were not being authentic. I mean, it was such a joke. It's I think everything's calculated. There's a whole genre in takedowns. Yeah. And
I actually think that, and I don't know exactly all the details of the story. My daughter was trying to explain it to me. But what, what I was saying to my daughter is I'm a believer in destruction before creation. Is very Joseph Campbell-esque.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think he'll come out of this.
He's either going to have a book deal or have a talk show, or he's going to get taken on by some, or he's going to let it destroy him.
Obscurity
and just one hit wonder kind of void in the universe. Yeah. But I actually think it could actually be in his best interest, because it's going to force him to grow as an artist.
I think he was at a point where he needed to grow. He was still beating that dead horse. Yeah. He had the same look since he started out. I mean, seriously, I didn't think he'd grown or progressed. No. And he was in a direction that was like, okay, that's okay. When he first started, he was very novel. He had all these copycats that were, but at the end of the day, and the other interesting thing in that whole realm is that he started off as a makeup artist. That's what he was fascinated with and what he was obsessed with. And all of a sudden he becomes a YouTuber. He's not a makeup artist anymore. Really, I mean, he is, but his focus is on creating videos that get views. Right. So all of a sudden your whole message. So it's the same thing if you're painting and all of a sudden you're obsessed with getting a certain number of likes on Instagram.
So you lose
no longer.
You lose the reason why you're doing something in the first place. And then you are no longer in touch with that creative force. And I think that is always that, if I was coming here just to make videos and get views, I don't think I would be able to do it, because I am so busy and tired in my regular life that if I didn't think we were having a real conversation about something that mattered to me.
We started off, I mean, our story is that we started off having our Creative Mondays.
Right.
Where you would come over and we would eat macadamia nuts.
Yeah.
I still have, when you call, I still have the macadamia nuts pop up as your picture. Yeah. And we would have macadamia nuts or almonds or whatever we'd have.
Sauvignon Blanc.
And Sauvignon Blanc. And sometimes we would smoke some cigarettes. Yeah. And we would do a different craft. We would do vision boards.
Yeah, we would do vision boards.
And we'd have a discussion about something or both, or we'd make some pastels or
go on a field trip somewhere.
We would do that. And when I moved back here, we're like, let's make our creative, conversations. Let's
make it live.
Let's go make it live and let's share it. And I think that that's where we still have the right, like, it's easy for us to say this because we're still at that point where we feel that we have
nobody cares.
Exactly. Well, we have just enough views that we think that some people care, and that's really nice. Yeah. But we don't have the number of views where we're like, oh my God, everybody cares, and we have to look a certain way and sound a certain way and act a certain way. So we can still kind of fuck up. And at this point, like, we just want to put it out there right now. Like, we're not here to please everyone or, we would love some sponsors for the right kind of scotch whiskey for our drink, but we're not doing it for that.
Right.
We're not worried about the sponsors right now. We're not worried about who's going to friend us or unfriend us. It's like, we just want people to, like, to be interested in what we're saying.
I want to just keep having these conversations.
Exactly.
And hopefully people will, keep intriguing us to do it.
Exactly. And like every time we have a conversation, we're going to find something else. And we just shot another episode earlier today, which was a creative conversation with a super creative character. And that also just engenders a whole other series of ideas that we're like, ooh, how can we branch out into other things? And I think that that's important too, is the branching out rather than getting sunk into your thing where you think you're going to have that critical success. Yeah. And we've talked before about the Impressionists and the salon in Paris. I think the salon was kind of the early internet Instagram where people would go, like, that was their outlet onto the world.
Well, yeah, they would go and they would show up, and then in person you would see their behavior, you would see their art, you would hear the conversation.
Exactly. And if they didn't quote go viral at the salons, it would be total
forget it. You're not invited back.
Right. Or if they weren't invited to be part of the salon, that was a disaster as well. Yeah. And I think that the people who were very successful in the salon for a certain genre, they went branch out. It was over, like they were stuck in that genre because they were very afraid not to be invited back next time. So that, again, it's
sometimes it's a blessing to not be invited back.
So there's these Instagram poets, and it's kind of ridiculous because it's really bad poetry, very easily consumable, and like all of the emo goth kids. Emo goth kids, we love you, we do. But they all think like
ripping on the emo goth.
I know, I'm so cruel. See, I'm gonna.
I would have been one of those.
I was one. Somebody's gonna unfriend us. Believe us, we have nothing but love for the emo goth kids because
I was one too.
We were there. And there are a few Instagram poets, and I don't even know if they're real people, but they pretend to be these hot guys. And
you don't think they're like robots?
I think they might be robots. I think very easily, I think their poetry is so crappy. It could easily be robots.
Do you think they would say that stuff about Rumi back in the day? Like, his poetry is so bad.
I wonder. I mean, we've not read Rumi in the originals, so we don't
Oh, that's true.
know,
That's true. We've only read, like, Coleman Barks.
Remember that time that we did that fake Rumi for that woman? Remember we were out for sushi? We were so good at fake Rumi. Remember it was like the eagle flies over the mountain and drenches me with his golden shower. Remember?
Okay, anyway, where were we?
Okay, so we were on how do you actually inoculate yourself
from bad poetry.
And just from the viral thing.
Yeah, from the viral thing. How do you avoid...
how do you inoculate yourself against the curse of the viral...
Of trying to go viral. Of, like, doing things just because you're like, ooh, I want to go viral.
Exactly. And, like, we touched on this also with the company things. Remember when we were talking about the lingo in business that just doesn't sound sincere at all? So we'll be touching on how to make things a little bit... Because I think that one of the big keys is the sincerity in the message and storytelling. And being true to yourself. I think that that's really major. But what do you feel about the social media cleanse? When people are like, I'm going on a social media cleanse. Goodbye, Instagram. Goodbye, I'll be back. Oh my God, goodbye, everyone. I'm canceling my YouTube.
Yeah, I don't.
You're like, really?
I'm not really that addicted to it. I have a lot of like really deep, real relationships, and I don't look to it very much. Like, I look at it for like, like I'm bored, but I don't really get very involved in it. And
yeah, one of my friends gets super involved, like on a personal level, where she feels that.
No, I mean, I was talking to a friend yesterday, and he was like, I got into an argument with somebody on Facebook, and I don't know why I went down that rabbit hole. And I'm like, it doesn't even occur to me to get into an argument with someone on Facebook. I don't actually care about, like if you're sitting down having a conversation with me, then, I think your brain gets kind of used to having these abstract.
It gets tricked. It's like with the TV. Yeah. It gets tricked. Like when people watched Friends and they got tricked into thinking those were their friends.
I heard today that people, like 10 million people or something, were going to call into sick because it was the last season of Game of Thrones. And I was I'm asking, like, what the hell? And they're like, oh, well, they think that these characters are part of their life and and they're dying and it's like a funeral.
It's like the sports game. It's like where if you're really into it, you care. You think you're playing. You think it's your team, yours. You're part of something, and that's what happens.
Your brain doesn't know the difference between reality. And
So I think that if you're so obsessed, if you're so addicted,
I think it's a good idea. I think it's a good idea to do And the reason I say that is because you want to. It's kind of like the people that are like, okay, after New Year's, I'm gonna not drink for the whole month.
You realize we can't do that.
No, we can't. But what I'm saying, I'm talking about the point of it, though, is that who am I without alcohol? Who am I without social media?
Okay, and I see that now. I like that.
I think some people, they need to take away, this thing to kind of reveal what's underneath. I'm not saying you do it forever.
So I was
as an experiment. It's a good idea.
I think that's very smart. Like I think that's like a Whole30 type situation where you take away the food. I was looking at it from a completely different aspect where I was thinking that these people go cold turkey on something that they're so obsessed with is probably incredibly hard. And that also they probably feel like they're missing out and they probably don't know what to do with themselves. And also, what do they do when they re-enter? Like, then I think you're giving up a whole opportunity to share, possible creative stuff. I mean, I really enjoy also, I think that I look at social media more like as something that I'm collecting images, for example, and connecting. Like I collect our conversations. I know it's really sick, but I'm like stalking our conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I think
it's a collection for me.
You are though. I mean, you have like you're a writer. You have journalism as a background. You've worked for magazines and wrote articles, and so you have that collective.
I have a collecting mindset.
You do, and I think that some people. They actually start to identify with these so-called friends on Facebook or Instagram or whatever or Twitter or whatever they're and it
becomes their tribe,
and they start to develop these abstract relationships. And I don't know, I mean, that's what people used to do with religion. They used to do that with the saints. They would have these abstract relationships.
They would protect things
with symbols
absolutely.
And so I think people do it now. I think we have our brain has a natural tendency to want to have these systems in place.
Right, our brain hasn't evolved to where it can deal with that.
Yeah.
So that's very difficult. But I think so the social media cleanse might be something healthy, but at the same time, I feel like it's usually made really dramatic, and usually it stems from a traumatic event. Stemming from the fact that people are trying to go viral. And
they're getting bullied on social media. Or
exactly. So I'm thinking, what you're talking about actually introduces us really well. So how can you view social media in the age of viral content? Yeah. How can you view it in a healthy way? Yeah. So I already said the thing about the collecting. Like I think that's a healthy way if you're on Pinterest or you're on Instagram because you're collecting impressions, or you're on YouTube because you're being entertained, but just entertained. Yeah. I think that's healthy enough. I think if you're getting all of your news from YouTube or Instagram, not
sketchy.
Awesome. Not so much.
I think also if you're getting too caught up in conversations with strangers about topics that really need some more or a deeper healthy context. Yes. If you're talking about, issues, maybe it's abortion, or maybe it's gun control, or things. These are really emotional, deep issues that perhaps should be dealt with in an environment that is it's a safer environment. These
are what you just said, because talking about safer. So you're talking about hot button issues.
Yeah.
One of the main things of a viral video or a viral piece of content is that it triggers emotion in a really strong way. So it's polarizing. That's what it does to get people to actually share it, because it has to be extreme. So you're not getting a measured conversation at all. You're getting
you're getting a one-sided viewpoint, and you're not getting something that is very thought out.
No. Well, it has to be bullet points.
Yeah.
Listicles. I was telling you, you're like, what the hell is a listicle? Is that some kind of
now it makes sense. Yeah. Now that you're saying it in the context
of a listicle is one of these things that BuzzFeed invented. That's designed to make things go viral. It's like, you've seen it, like 6 things that'll make a dude go crazy, that sort of thing. 6 ways you can make your podcast go viral. Those are listicles. You break it down, and people are thinking, oh my God, this is value because it's bullet.
They're like, oh, I do 4 of them. I just got to get the other 2. And
yeah, exactly. So it's like this competition with yourself. So let's talk about how, the healthy thing, I think, is to really see things in perspective.
And I'm one of these people that, everything in moderation.
Have a real life.
Yeah, have a real life, have real friendships, have real interactions. If you're an introvert, I have a lot of friends that are introvert. My boyfriend is an introvert.
And it could feed you to have that solitude and not to worry about what's going on. And here's the other interesting figure. So people always worry about, oh my God, did I get X number of views? And the reality is there's so many theories that say that if you have 1,000 fans, okay, it doesn't sound like much, but in reality, that's massive. Yeah. If you have 1,000 devoted fans, you can have creative success. Think if you're a painter and 1,000 people are thinking of buying one of your paintings, well, you're going to make a mint.
1,000 people are going to view all of your content and talk to a lot of other people. Yes. I think it's true. That it definitely
that's
and I think there are more conversations now about having. You don't need to appeal to everyone. You don't need to fill coliseums for the rock concert. You don't. You need to have conversations with the people.
Thinking of smaller groups, like more intimate settings and more meaningful conversations and events.
Big fish, small pond kind of conversations.
Absolutely. For me, I would much more value, rather than being in an auditorium with somebody yelling into a loudspeaker, I would much prefer to be in a room with somebody who's giving me valuable content.
Sure, a more intimate
rather
space.
Than knowing that they went viral and that, I think that's major. So let's talk about how things do go viral. So if you don't care about everything we said and you just want to go viral with your content,
Here you are.
We're going to give you the 5 things.
The 5 bullet listicles.
Yeah, exactly. So number 1 is the social currency. So you need to create a piece of content that people are going to feel good about sharing. So we talked about Dan Brown, how people felt smart consuming his content and sharing it. Or, if it's evoking emotion of some kind. Yeah. So if you're sharing something about a charity because there's some cute video with baby elephants, and it makes you feel like you're super soft-hearted and sweet and you care to share it, you're going to share it. And that's the other thing that brings in the trigger. So if you can put in a trigger, so we've got the alcohol that we're pairing with.
This is one of our triggers.
This is a trigger. So that when we're talking about alcohol and happy hour, all of a sudden people will be like, we're talking about intellectual.
I go to happy hour.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I like happy hour. I like having creative conversations.
Yeah.
And that kind of wakes up the trigger. What's really funny is, though, you can kind of fuck up your trigigger.
And we probably do all the time.
Probably, yes. You have to be really careful. So some people...
Be careful pulling the trigger on your creative gun, have to people.
Well, so for example, people will tell us like, oh my God, your podcast is just about alcohol.
Oh, well, when I had the creative conversation, he was said, well, do you guys get drunk on every episode?
Right. And
I was like, on the creative possibilities.
Exactly. We're like, that's our tagline. We get drunk on the creative possibilities.
I was like, no, we never get drunk on creative happy hour.
No. We don't. Well, sometimes we get tipsy.
Sometimes we get a little buzzed.
But that's not even the point. But
but once I told him the concept of it, he was like, oh, I want to get in on that.
Exactly.
That is very, very clever.
Right. But see, those triggers can kind of evoke gut reactions in people.
They can turn people away, or they can bring people in.
And remember the whole anti-drug campaign?
Yes.
Okay, this is so funny.
This is your brain on drugs.
This is your brain on drugs, first of all, which looked kind of fun. People were like, ooh, that egg looks really tasty. Egg. Yeah, yum. Yeah. People were like, ooh, breakfast and drugs. Sounds like a great idea. And then and then the other campaign where they said, just say no to drugs. And everybody's like, who's saying yes to drugs? Are a bunch of people saying yes to drugs?
Yes?
Oh my God, should we be saying yes to drugs before we say no to drugs? And it actually brought about a rise in drug use. that campaign. And I was like, oh my God, guys. And it was viral. That was a viral campaign.
Yeah, it was.
Just Say No.
It was
a massively, and like Crack is Whack was another one that kind of made crack mainstream.
Don't meth around.
Don't meth around.
Don't meth around.
No, I didn't remember that one.
Yeah, there was a billboard I saw in Reno.
Fucked up teeth.
Yeah, it said don't meth around.
Oh man.
Yeah.
That's the one that might actually work really well because I have a thing with teeth.
I love don't meth around.
Oh my God. I have a thing with teeth. So I think
so do I.
Oh my God.
Every day of my life I have a thing with teeth.
Oh my God.
An ongoing appointment.
But Crack is Whack, I really think made crack mainstream.
Is right, yeah. Crack is whack. I want some whack.
Right?
Whack my crack.
There you go. See?
Oh my
triggers.
God, crack.
Triggered.
All right.
Then the other thing is emotion. You have to evoke a real emotion. And this is what I was saying again, is that people try to go for the stronger emotions, and that's not the way to do it. Try to be a little bit sincere. Like, this is the thing where I'm saying try to do this a little bit safely and in a more responsible way. Evoke emotion for the right reason.
Right.
And be authentic. Be authentic to your brand and yourself, and that doesn't mean recreating the same thing all the time.
Right.
You know, we were talking about the artists who, you know, would start to be stuck in this one genre because they thought they were being
authentic isn't like, oh, I never deviate from the brand. You
No.
know, like I was telling you about that company, Modern Times, where you know, they are a beer company. They make craft beers.
Right, but now they make other beverages.
Now they make coffee.
Yes.
Now they make cider. You know, now they have these.
But they still have the same core value, which is beverages with the
have these incredible works of art. I mean, like, I would love to talk to someone just about the can art.
Maybe we can. The
can art.
Maybe we can.
Oh my God. Maybe we can.
That's fine.
But no, I mean, you know, you get these umbrellas of a creative idea.
Well, yeah.
And then it doesn't mean that you can't put different things under, you know.
And that's the beauty of being a creative, is that you can associate different creative ideas and you can branch out.
Right.
And you're still being true to yourself. You're still espousing your core value.
Right.
So don't forget your core value, because if you do, you might get one viral thing, but that's going to peter out because people are not going to be, you know, you're not going to be speaking to people. You're not going to be. The other thing is make things that are kind of public and visible. And so the Just Say No thing also is part of that, where they had the billboards everywhere.
Yeah, that's what I saw. Don't meth around was a billboard.
Exactly. And then the reason that the iPod, what are they called? The ear pods.
AirPods. AirPods.
The reason that they're white is so that you could really see them in people's ears. It made them visible. It made them kind of ubiquitous. And so that's the other thing, is that, you know, you'll see all these sponsored posts and things, and that's something that you shouldn't be afraid to do, is, you know, that's where promotional materials come from. That's where you push your message out on every single, you know, platform
Make it stand out.
Make it stand out, but put it out on a lot of platforms so that it becomes this ubiquitous thing. People are like, oh, I've seen that somewhere. And that might, for a while, keep it from going viral right away, because you're going to be diluting where people are going to see your stuff. So they'll be liking it here, but not there. But that's fine. You know, like, you need to kind of give up on that. Then you need to have, at least ideally, some practical value. So, you know, what we're doing here, we hope that there's some value to that. Yeah. Because we're trying to talk about creative themes that are going to help people as they move along on their creative journey, you know, teach them how to think about stuff, give them some tips, you know, so you have to have that good thinking of, you know, and even if that value is just making you laugh, it's fine. Like, that's a value, or making you feel warm-hearted or fuzzy, you know, whatever. Yeah. So that's another thing. And then the last one is you have to tell a story. And I think that any piece, I mean, there are exceptions, like the cat with a mustache. I don't know what kind of story that tells. Right. But the cat with a mustache would be even better if it had some heartwarming story behind it. You know, I think that people would be really into it.
I'm trying to think of a story that...
Of what one of the viral things. I mean, all of them, like James Charles, for example, his story was that I know what his story is. This is so sad. So
what's his story?
His story was, and I don't even know if it's true, but this is the story that he put out. It's always an origin story. He was a high school student. He had his high school photo taken. He didn't like the lighting because it didn't make his highlight pop, so he brought his own ring light to retake the photo. Oh. And he was all made up. A lot of news outlets got the story. He became the first cover girl who was a boy. Oh. And it started from there. So that's his story. That was his story. He was the underdog. Yeah. He stood out and he stood up for himself and blah, blah, blah.
So he reframed the picture, no pun intended, literally. Right?
Yes.
Yeah, and I think that's what a good story will do.
Good story does that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think that's what's so famous, I don't know the word, why the book Educated is so popular right now, because she kind of reframes
that's this story. Right?
Yeah, no, it is quasi-viral. I mean, it is viral. I mean, it's, everywhere I go, that book is, you know, did you read this book?
I see it everywhere.
Yeah, and people are talking about it. But I think the thing about it is that she's kind of reframing this story about education and how, oh, well, you know, we know the story of like you work hard in school and you go to school and you start this early and you get good study habits. And yeah, I mean, she never went to school.
Right, and that's where I would venture to say, and I didn't see the same, but I would say that if you're reframing something, or if you're innovating on something in a way that's going to touch people, I think that that's another way of doing something virally.
Yeah, I feel like, and that I think is another key, is like, it can't be so complicated.
No.
Otherwise it won't go viral. It has to appeal to enough people.
It has to be instantly, people have to instantly grasp.
They have to get it.
What it's about.
You cannot have this super... intensely hard to understand.
Right, and that's why we try to bring the creative. Yeah, that's why we're like, okay, let's get a little tipsy, bring the creative concepts down to like everyday lingo. We're not embarrassed to talk about pop culture or everyday experience. Like, and that's kind of helpful to tell the story in a different way as well. And I think that gives us the opportunity. And also, is always having a puppy or a kitten is always good. So when we have Fiona, we think she might be helped.
Fiona
so far
helps.
She's not helped. So far she's not helped.
She practically dug a hole in my leg tonight trying to get me to pet her. I was like, oh my God.
She's such a little bitch. So no Fiona today. I know.
She's out.
She's out.
She was on bad behavior today. Right? She did not go viral tonight.
No, she did not. No, she did not. So you guys, thanks so much for joining us. And you'll hopefully help us to make this podcast go viral. Yeah. Even though we've told you it's almost impossible. So we won't feel bad if it doesn't.
Yeah, if it doesn't. I mean, this is just, we don't have basically to go on just talk ourselves in it and out of it.
Exactly.
In the same show.
We won't go on a cleanse.
Yeah.
And we will see you guys because of that next week. Next week. Cheers to you. Bye.